Born Audrey Marie Fraser on June 4th, 1933, to Hugh and Lucille Fraser, Audrey Marie married her husband Frank in May 1951. In May of 1975, Frank visited the doctor, complaining of nausea and tenderness in his abdomen. The doctor diagnosed him with nothing but a viral stomach ache. But the condition persisted, and he was admitted to a hospital to run tests that indicated there was liver malfunction. Physicians eventually diagnosed him with infectious hepatitis. He died early in the morning, May 25th. 1975. An autopsy was performed with Audrey's permission, and it revealed hepatitis, a swelling of the kidneys and lungs, bilateral pneumonia, and inflammation of the stomach. Because these symptoms so closely resembled those of hepatitis, no tests for poison were ever conducted, and the cause of death was listed as infectious hepatitis. Frank had a moderate life insurance policy that his widow redeemed for about $31,000. A little over 3 years later, Audrey Marie took out a $25,000 life insurance policy on her own daughter, Carol. A $25,000 accidental death rider took effect in August of 1978. Within a few months, Carol began to experience trouble with nausea and was admitted to the emergency room several times. A year after insuring her daughter, Audrey Marie gave her daughter an injection that she said would alleviate the nausea. However, the symptoms did not disappear, and eventually they worsened. Carol began to experience numbness in her extremities and was admitted to the hospital to run tests. Unable to diagnose Carol at all, the physician brought in a psychiatrist because he feared the symptoms might be psychosomatic. While she was undergoing psychiatric testing, Carol received 2 more injections from her own mother, who warned her not to tell anyone about them. Audrey explained that the shots were given to her by a friend who was a registered nurse. A month after Carol was admitted to the hospital, the physician said that she was suffering from malnutrition and vitamin deficiencies. He added that he suspected heavy metal poisoning was to blame for the symptoms. That afternoon, Audrey had Carol discharged from the hospital, and the next day, she was admitted to the University of Alabama Hospital. Coincidentally, she was arrested for passing bad checks. They were written to the insurance company that insured Carol's life, causing that policy to lapse. The university hospital physicians concentrated their investigation on the possibility of heavy metal poisoning, noting that Carol's hands and feet were numb. She had nerve palsy, causing foot drop, and she almost lost all of her deep tendon reflexes. Eventually, physicians discovered crescent-shaped lines were present in Carol's fingernails and toenails, which is a dead giveaway for arsenic poisoning. Tests conducted on samples of Carol's hair revealed that it had about 50 times the normal arsenic level in human hair. Her condition was officially attributed to arsenic poisoning. Forensic tests on Carol's hair, conducted October 3rd of 1979, revealed arsenic levels ranging from over 100 times the normal level, close to the scalp, to 0 times the normal level at the end of the soft hair shaft. This indicated that Carol was given increasingly larger doses of arsenic over a period of 4 to 8 months. That same day, they extracted Frank's body for testing. The analysis revealed abnormally high levels of arsenic, ranging from 10 times the normal level to over 100 times, as seen in toenail samples. After these tests, the doctors concluded the cause of death was acute arsenic poisoning, meaning that he had been given arsenic for months prior to his death. Audrey Marie was still incarcerated on her bad check charges when she was arrested on October 9th, 1979, for the attempted murder of her own daughter. The police found another vial in her purse, in her possession, and subsequent testing revealed the presence of arsenic. 2 weeks later, Frank's sister found a jar of Cowley's new and improved rat and mouse poison, which contains between 1.4 and 1.5% arsenic. November 9th, 1979, Audrey was released on bond and registered to a local motel under the name Emily Steffens. She disappeared between the 9th and 18th of November. A note indicating that she might have been kidnapped was left behind. A missing persons report was filed and Audrey was listed as a fugitive. On November 19th, 10 days after she was released on bond, there was a break-in at the home of her aunt. A car, some woman's clothing, and an overnight bag were all missing from the home. Investigators found a note reading, "Do not call police. We will burn you out if you do. We found what we wanted and will not bother you again." Fast forward a few months to January 11th, 1980. She was indicted for her husband's murder. Investigators found that both her mother and her mother-in-law had significant but not fatal traces of arsenic in their systems when they died. Although police and the FBI launched a massive manhunt, Audrey remained a fugitive for a little more than 3 years. She first traveled to Florida where she met a man named John Homan. She was using the name Robbie Hannon when they met. They lived together for a little over a year before she actually married him in May of 1981, and then took his last name. The couple moved to New Hampshire, and she frequently talked about her imaginary twin sister, Terry, who supposedly lived in Texas. Late in the summer of '82, she left New Hampshire, telling her husband that she needed to attend to some family business and to go see some doctors about an illness. During this time, she traveled to Texas and Florida, using the alias Terry Martin. During the trip, using her own alias Terry Martin, she called her own husband John to inform him that Robbie had died in Texas, but that there was no need for him to come to Texas because the body had been donated to medical science. A few months had passed, and on November 12th, she changed her hair color. And after losing weight, she returned to New Hampshire and met John again, posing as Terry Martin, his dead wife's own sister. An obituary for Robbie Homan appeared in the New Hampshire newspaper, but aroused suspicion when police were unable to verify any of the information it contained. A New Hampshire State Police detective surmised that the woman living as Terry Martin was in fact Robbie Homan and staged her own death. That hunch paid off, and shortly after, the police brought Terry Martin in for questioning. She quickly confessed to being Audrey Marie. She was then returned to Alabama to face trial. She was very quickly convicted and sentenced to life in prison for her husband's murder and an additional 20 years for attempting to kill her own daughter. She began serving her sentence in 1983 and was a quiet model prisoner. Because of this, her good behavior had earned her several one-day passes from the prison, and she had always arrived back on time. In February of 1987, Hilley escaped after she was given a 3-day pass to visit her husband, John, who had moved to Anniston to become closer to his wife. They spent a day at the Anniston Hotel and went home and left for a few hours. She disappeared, leaving behind a note for Holman asking for his forgiveness. Her escape prompted an inquiry into the prison system's furlough policy. This time, she was not missing for very long. 4 days after she vanished, police responded to a call about a suspicious person, went to a home and found her. She apparently had been crawling around in the woods, drenched for 4 days because of the frequent rain, and numb from temperatures dropping in the low 30s. They took her to a local hospital and she underwent emergency treatment for hypothermia. While at the hospital, she suffered a heart attack and died.